Hey everyone, Scott here, and we're back with Sevastopol, the second part of the build. Our capital ship, as you can see here, we left off. Most of the front section is, for the most part, functional, complete. There's still some holes to be sealed up and a few internals to be taken care of, but it's coming along quite nicely, and I'm quite happy with the results. I've had a lot of great fun working with Raven Knight, Tyson.Powered, and Drayden R. Three of my friends that have been helping me with this build since pretty much we got started on it. And we're just going to continue working forward here. As you can see, I've got a couple of temporary docking ports on the back so that their small craft can port. And right now all the inventory systems and all the power is self-sustaining in this ship. It is doing all of our refining. We no longer have any survival stuff that they give us. All the small ships and the large ships and the platform have been ground up and recycled into the components to build this large ship. So we're just kind of going over it here piece by piece, trying to make sure things stay symmetrical. Those fins on the nacelles basically just armor for a automated repair system, which I'll show a little bit later in the video exactly how it works. And they get redesigned here shortly because we were building this and then Thursday came along, and any of you guys who are familiar with space engineers are familiar with Thursday being basically new patch day. Well, with this Thursday's patch, we got some advanced rotors which actually tie into the conveyor system, and they allowed us to redesign some of the things that we were using rotors for to begin with, and we'll get more into that as the video progresses. Now, as we go here, it's getting to the point where I have to start looking at the tail section and designing it, and that solar array on the back was just temporary, just to generate additional power, try to take some of the load off of the uranium resources that we were consuming. So basically I hopped into my grinder to take those out so that we can replace them in a different place. Solar panels are kind of expensive, so these were recycled off of the platform that we had, and there was a few others that came off of the blue ship in survival. And I think I made one or two more just because I had the resources, so we just throw those on the back just to kind of support the electrical system a little bit. Plus I was charging batteries with it at one point where I was not letting my reactors run at all, just to take full advantage of all that free electrical juice. Alright, so the solar panels are off, the back is starting to get built up. The ship is starting to look pretty close to what it should look like when it's done. As you can see, the solar panels have been relocated to the nose, and there's some that are going to be relocated to the bottom side to basically allow for the ship to passively collect solar energy whenever it's just there. And this is where I decided to redo the automated repair system that we put into the nacelles because of the new rotors. So I basically had to cut out all the stuff that we did and start over. So I'm basically giving these fins a haircut, pulling out all the pistons and the connectors that we used to make this thing work in the first place. It worked in its previous state, but basically what it involved was pistons connecting to connectors on top of welders sitting on rotors, and that was really complex, and to make that work you'd almost need somebody doing that as a full-time job to really make it viable. I mean, you could dump most of the components you needed into the welders because they do hold a little bit of storage, but I mean, it basically was a high-maintenance system, and we needed to, well, with the advent of these new parts, we could make it a lot better, and it also was a lot more space-saving than this design. With this going on forward, though, this also means that I can kind of maintain these engines from a single-seater engineer, if you will. Someone who wants to take up that job can basically kind of maintain these things. And if we were in a situation where we needed these repair system to work, you basically need somebody monitoring it the whole time. And the new system should be a lot simpler and less involved to maintain. So for the next little while, I'm going to be retrofitting, cleaning out my inventory, because I don't want to tear apart the whole nacelle just to do all that work. So, or just to redesign the system. So I just basically cut the top fins off, and I'll be going in there. My buddy Drayden was coming online here to start helping again, and well, he was kind of focusing on mining the whole time, and he kept us resources, kept us stocked with resources, which was really great, and I really appreciate the fact that I had one guy just pretty much dedicated to keeping us resource stocked, and he spent a lot of time working on drills and new mining sort of solutions just to kind of be more efficient and quickly at it. Part of his personality is once he grabs a problem, he tends to hold on to it until it's completely solved, and that can be kind of dangerous in space engineers because the problems are always being resolved because it's just part of the game. You're constantly redesigning and redoing your things. So now I'm just armoring up the bottom, and you can see the top is now much smaller. We had a minor boom, and I came over to find out what happens. It turns out landing gears exploded on Drayden's welding ship, so he left a nice dent in the top of my ship as well, but fortunately nothing was damaged beyond that. Wasn't any loss really. It's always fun when you're sitting there working away at space engineers and all of a sudden, you know, you hear this boom in the background and you're like, what just happened? Usually at that point, since we're using a mumble server, I usually hear some cussing or some kind of colorful vocabulary coming across, and then it's just like everybody drops what they're doing and goes over to see what happened because they'll probably get a nice chuckle out of it. In any case, I'm also putting my thrusters and layer of armor deep in this again just to protect them. Those are expensive, especially on large ships in terms of resource cost. So you don't want to... The more I can protect them, a little bit better, and the more comfortable I'll feel. I don't expect this ship to be winning any races, but as long as it's movable at the end, that's all I really want. This is a mobile home in space. It's not so much a ship, so to speak. And again, I'm just kind of laying out that scaffolding, and somebody will come along later with the welding ship to tie it all together and close it all up so that it's nice and neat. Now, one other thing that came out interesting was this last Thursday that I was doing this was that Keen Software House, the guys that developed this game, did mention that they were going to take a break or reprieve from adding features to fix issues, fix bugs. And quite frankly, I think the community has been quite vocal about doing something like this for a while because, in all honesty, this game probably could really use some bug smashing right now. That being said, I'm total agreement with it. I think it's a good idea, and you know, happy hunting is my whole term with it, because truthfully you can spend hours, you know, catching bugs. You think when I was coding, one of the expressions we used to use a lot was you spend 15 minutes coding something and then you spend 45 minutes debugging it. Well, that's very true in a lot of cases. I mean, it does take a great deal of time to debug things, and especially when you're constantly adding to a program. You fix one thing, you break another. You add a feature, you break 4 others. Just the way it is, really. So my hat goes off to them. I hope they do find a lot of these issues. There are some pretty serious issues or serious issue bugs that have to be addressed, and I think they'll do good. I mean, they have a good track record. They seem to be pretty adamant about developing it, and they've got some pretty big plans for this game going forward. I'm not going to get too much into that because, in all earnest, I haven't really. I've been really just focusing on getting familiar with the current game as it is. But I mean, they're looking at procedurally generated systems and things like that that will help for, you know, adding more content, planets, things of that nature, maybe other asteroid belts, rather than just spawning into a static map. As well as they're also talking about building game features into it, so it's not just a building game. Pretty soon there'll actually be, you know, opportunities for challenges, you know, building a ship to do X, or, you know, protecting a certain station, or something along those lines. Just more game mechanics, kind of like what I guess Minecraft did with they introduced the Ender Dragon. But in any case, I hope there's a little bit more than that. And I mean, I have been looking into a lot of mods lately because I'm getting kind of eager to mod this game. And once I do that, this ship is going to get a whole retrofit. So then we're maybe not starting from scratch, but we're definitely going to be heavily changing it. And that's going to be a whole great deal of fun. And, you know, with recent patches, you can also add asteroids into maps and things like that, which will also be great. So we never have to worry about resources. Plus, it was after I did this video, but made a successful pirate attack on a ship and was able to capture it. And I'll probably do some shorties on that kind of stuff, on maybe some tips for capturing some of the cargo ships when you're in a survival game. I think that'd be a good little featurette. Anyway, no promises right now, but we're continuing forward. And as you can see, I've redesigned the back because I was thinking, you know, if I level this out, I can actually make a pretty decent landing pad out of it, because I do intend to add a couple more ships to, you know, to support this vessel and its various things. And I mean, one of the biggest things was just keeping, you know, more ships on other places to put more ships was a big concern. But as we continued, I mean, we got this platform working, and I think the ships that we did attach to it will be fine. The ship will always be under changing and stuff like that. Like, this is only the Mark 1, if you will. And it worked out fairly well. I mean, we have enough docking ports to support all those smaller craft, and then we have the bigger craft underneath, which has a connector to fully access the inventories and drop off its resources so that it can be processed. It worked out really well. I mean, we've got enough room, it moves around, it worked out good. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself because we still got a lot of interior work to do. And I also want to be careful here not to be closing up parts that aren't welded by the ships, because if anyone spent some time in survival, they know that you know, you got to have the resources, and to do everything by hand without a good welding ship is quite frankly painful. So I mean, just taking a look at the drill again, because Drayden was really happy with it. He's going to be replacing that large yellow one with the rotating heads here shortly, and you'll get to see that sucker in action. Actually worked out really well, and the coolness factor was stepped up by a factor of 2.5 times, I swear. But we'll get more into that as we go. At this point, I'm kind of noticing I'm doing armor like 2 layers deep in places, and I start to take some of that out a little bit later because, quite frankly, this is not a combat ship. It doesn't need that much armor, and that adds a lot of weight to the overall design, which therefore will slow it down a great deal. So anyway, we've got the drill going here, and this is Drayden's one of his first attempts at it with the new rotating, advanced rotators that move material through a conveyor system. And we decided to take a stop and watch this because this was really cool. And it worked pretty well, except when you get it hung up every once in a while, then it would forcibly rotate his ship. So we were kind of chuckling at that because we thought it was kind of funny, but it still worked out really well. I mean, it's only basically when one of the drills wasn't finished grinding out whatever was in front of it, it would occasionally hang, and then the rotor would force the ship to move. So I mean, we did find occasionally it would get hung up too, especially in asteroids that were dug out a fair bit. So Drayden took it back and he worked on it. He kind of kept playing with the idea. This was the second iteration of it, and we went to a fresh asteroid, so it wasn't so mined out. Well, fresher. And I just kind of followed him in because I was curious to see just how well this thing would handle. And you know, we were absolutely impressed, the guys that were on the server at the time, because usually the rotors beforehand would kind of break apart in a multiplayer game. They wouldn't always be that strong, but this one was housing several drills on the front of it. It was filling up the inventory in the Nostromo, and you know, there were very little problems, all things considered. Considering this was basically Jerry's first attempt at using this rotor to make an actual rotating head drill. And I might do a little shorty on that a little bit later if people request it, on exactly how he put it together, because this is only the first version. He's worked on it a bit since then, and he's actually got a much more advanced version, which I'll probably show off even later, which works incredibly well, considering you'd almost expect it not to because of the fragility of the parts and the amount of weight that's on the front of the ship, but rotating that tends to help alleviate some of the gyration that comes off of these drills. I mean, you can see it keeps him more centralized. He's not bouncing around, and his thrusters aren't firing all that crazy like to keep him in the center. So it really, really was quite impressive. I had to record it because I was quite enthusiastic to see how this thing would work. So in a moment here, I'm going to skip ahead because you don't need to see the whole thing of us just pushing through this rock. But as you can see from here, we went all the way through the asteroid. Never really ran into any problem. It just worked beautifully. And I made a nice big round hole. There's not any jagged edges in there to damage your ship if it gets bounced around a little bit. And I mean, because it was rotating, the ship stayed pretty centralized throughout the whole time. I mean, occasionally you'd still see the ship getting forcibly rotated instead of the drills, but that was just because he probably was trying to rotate the drills a little bit too fast for the amount of time it took for them to actually consume the rock in front of them. But yeah, I mean, again, just tweaks. And because Drayden decided he wasn't going to finish with this idea. He wanted to take it one step further. We ended up with an even better drill. But we'll get more into that as we progress here. There'll be lots of interesting things. And again, I just want to make a call out to my community. If you ever want to see me, you know, on a specific subject of something you see in my videos, aka how this drill works, let me know. Contact me through YouTube or through my Google Plus or through my email, and just request it, and I will put together some small video on exactly how we got to this point. Because again, I got to give credit to Drayden because he built all this in survival. This wasn't like a creative mode where he went through and tested a whole bunch of things. He took the time and the resources to actually make this work through survival, all survival. So if anyone, like I said, and he had to collect all the resources beforehand, and he's been doing such a great job staying focused on resource collection that he's consumed several of the asteroids, and we just had to do a little bit of a beauty shot here because, hey, that's what we are. So back to the Sevastopol, and you can see the bridge is now, for the most part, complete, and you get another cute picture of Drayden and Raven. Told them to do something funny, but we shall see. That's what they came up with. Moving forward, so you can see the back is starting to get almost enclosed on this ship. You're starting to see some color come on there because Raven decided he liked that pattern, and I think it looks pretty cool. You're starting to see turrets going up in certain places. You see the new drill has been collecting resources and the new system's been attached. It's still not completely changed because the way we had it set up with the yellow drill previously, the docking port was in a different location, so I had to do some replumbing of the conveyor system to accommodate the new drill design. But that was no big deal. And again, I think right here we were just doing some checklists on the actual parts to see how they were going to do and deconstructing, and now we're just putting the nubs on the back of the ship. They're going to support some Gatling turrets as point defense systems. I was just working away here. I think Tyson was working on this. Yeah, he was helping me weld these up while I was kind of supervising. Being lazy, hanging out in space, whatever you want to call it. Good times, though. Good times. Really been having fun. And as you can see, the drill down there, Drayden's working on it even more. He actually moved it away from the ship a little bit so he could get his welder in there, and he got his... he did some more work with the Nostromo to make the ship a little bit better all around. And I think at this point, I'm kind of trying to decide what I'm going to need to do next, because most of it is done. It's mostly interior work at this point. As you can see, a quick run through of the interior, go from the back to the bridge, and I think I was charging up quickly because I needed it. We had to do had to shut something off here. Yeah, I was kind of worried because I mentioned in the previous video that I had one welder that when we started putting together turrets, because there was an ownership issue, I didn't want one of my buddy's ships welding it up and then all of a sudden it opening fire on them, because that would suck. So as you can see here, just doing a quick bash, you can see Drayden working on his Nostromo. He's taking the top off so he could do some more work. He's adding some more power to it because he felt it needed it. So I was like, have at thee! And you can kind of get a little bit of the inner workings of it. As you can see, it's a bit of a tight ship design. We wanted to keep it that way, kind of small and compact, yet full of inventory space, just so that it could easily bore holes through asteroids without much trouble. There's also some talk about using that ship for other purposes, although we're not exactly sure what they would be yet. And now it's red! Raven Knight painted it well when we were getting closer to the end of completion here, and I kind of like it. Red's pretty cool. So red it is. It's really red. Now I think this was when we were getting ready to take her out for her first test run. All the panels were in place, everything was there. Just trying to make sure everything was working, and I realized I needed a kid seat for one more person because there was 4 of us, yet only 3 seats in the bridge. So just quickly threw one together. And parking everybody here. We go through our preliminary checks. As you can see, we've also left a beacon down where the starting platform was, so that we always have a place, an origin to go back to if we ever get too far out of space. So anyways, converting to ship, start going through the preliminary checklists. Ran into a minor glitch, had to fix minor glitch. Nothing major, but I won't make you sit through that. And after we do that, she flies. First rear thrust, left, right, back, forward, making sure that all of our 6 degrees of freedom is accounted for. She ain't fast, but she never was designed to be fast. As you can see, Drayden's trying to get in there on the last ride here before we take off. So our inertial dampers are off and we're testing it out. Now keep in mind that this video is sped up to 2 times normal speed, so like I said, this ship will move from asteroid to asteroid pretty well. I mean, it's just not fast, and that's fine. When we get into the mods, though, I'll probably redesign the nacelles to be a little bit bigger so that we can incorporate some bigger engine styles or maybe some more powerful engines, or the additional more engines. That's probably one of the things I'm going to put on the improvements list for this ship as we go. And I wouldn't be surprised if in a, you know, it looks completely different in a few weeks as we continue to build upon it and develop it. And yeah, I mean, overall I'm quite happy. As you see, you can kind of see there that looks like Drayden's stuck trying to get out of the ship or something, or as we're moving. But yeah, you can see it worked out pretty well, and everything worked for the most part, and we're losing guys out the back for some reason. They decided to jump out. And the stop test was always important too. Got her up to fairly high, 70 meters per second or something along those lines, and then come to a stop to see how slow. That gave me an idea how much room I would need in order to slow down before we got to an asteroid. And as you can see here, I'm turning it back. We went about 5,000 meters, 5,500 meters from our starting position, and looks like everyone's back and accounted for, catching up to the ship, whatever they plan to do. So anyways, the next thing I said, well, what's the next test? And of course Raven screams out, crash test! And I'm like, okay. So we saved it, turned off the autosave, and then I'm like, okay, we're gonna aim right at the asteroid and go straight at it. And then everyone's like, well, they wanted to ride on the hood. I'm like, well, being from the farm and growing up, I've ridden on the hood of a vehicle before, and I will not get into any more of that. That was a long time ago. So I was like, yeah, sure. So I start to accelerate, and as you can see, Raven and Drayden are just free floating on the windshield like mosquitoes, and Tyson looked like he tried to get impaled by the antenna for some reason. This actually was a bit slower than I expected, because we did get up to a fair amount of speed before we got anywhere close, and I had to do a correction of my direction as we got closer to the asteroid, because I was going to end up missing it. And nobody wants to do a crash test without an actual crash. That's just silly. So accelerating to as fast as I can go here. She's a slow one, but she gets there. She gets there. And we're going to aim for one of the asteroids in that cluster in the center. So, and again, because we're still using the completely stock version of Space Engineers, you've got these, you know, this backdrop, the skybox that they use is kind of hard to sometimes pick things out against it, because everything kind of meshes in there. So we kind of I had to do some last minute tweaks, and as you can see here, I'm having some clipping multiplayer issues. I got somebody coming through the console on me, and yeah, just not cool. So anyway, we're coming up to the asteroid. We're not too far now. We're about halfway there, and yeah, I can't get over how badly they were clipping a little bit at times. But that's to be expected. I mean, again, this is just addressing some of the issues of the alpha software that will have to get fixed, hopefully. But at the same time, we're talking about, you know, moving on a 3-dimensional plane, and they have to update, and the game's compensating as best they can for it. But I don't want to draw attention to that, because you can see that great big huge hunk of rock coming up, and I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna miss it. I need to change my velocity, because I'm flying without my inertial dampers on here. You can see the asteroid that's going to go off to our right is the one that Jerry's been working hard on. That made most of this ship. As you can see, his drill go by there too. Some of the smaller craft. And I had to do a quick inertial dampers and a quick directional change just to make sure I met it, and somebody went flying out the top. I think that was another glitch, but hell, we're going to do it! We're going to hit all that hard effort and work, and we're going to just smoke it. And bang! Oh yeah. Big chunk of gold goes flying out the front of it, and it kind of rolls into the rest of the asteroid, and I'm just like, oh. It's like, that was still painful to watch even the second time after all the effort we put into building this. But hey, this is Space Engineers. Why not? I mean, why would you not build something if not to crash it, right? Because I mean, that's like the thing to do in Space Engineers. So anyways, get in it, and I slowly ease her back, get her off the rock, and I'm seeing more bits flying off. And actually, that might have been a dude. Anyway, one of my buds. So anyways, we're kind of taking a look at the damage here. It's like, oh my gosh. It's kind of painful. I almost don't want to look. So, come down the stairs and going around and getting in there. I probably could have just ran without my jetpack on, but whatever. And, yeah, come into the industrial part. And it's exposed to space. And, you know, all things considered, I expected more damage considering how heavy the ship was. We lost one refinery. We lost a couple of cargo containers. A few gyroscopes. Big ass hole in there. Just all kinds of... I mean, it looks horrible. And truthfully it is. But, you know, it could have been worse, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, that was a crash test. Everybody's probably laughing their ass off. I noticed it did take some nacelle damage too because of the way it rolled into the asteroid. But I mean, all in all, this ship's still serviceable. We lost one major thruster. That was kind of expensive. Lost the refinery. That was a little expensive. But you know, still works. Got a new view. Oh, actually, we lost two thrusters now that I noticed it. The guys are just kind of staring. I guess the repair system didn't work. Well, it's kind of hard to work when you're crushing something against a giant rock face. Hey, but you know, at least the ore detector still works. It's broadcasting with a satellite. So anyways, now that we're done with that, I can actually show you what it looks like in all its pride and glory. And now I present the Sevastopol, our ship that we built in survival. You can see there's a couple of other craft hanging around it that we've built then to add on. And you can see the much larger drill assembly and bigger Nostromo that Drayden's been working on. But this is what we spent the better part of a week, evenings around in our spare time building. And I'm quite proud of the guys. I'm quite proud of, you know, the product that turned out. I'm quite happy with everything that happened. It's been just a wonderful experience. And yeah, so let's go on the inside here. Now I had a bit of a technical issue, so I had to just cut out the interior and just re-record it. But yeah, as you can see, the front's got ample storage as well as our refinement, arc furnaces, and assemblers. The catch on the bottom does work, but we ran into some problems with that, so it might get redesigned. That's what the spherical gravity generator net was for. Again, ample storage space, gravity generator in the front. Again, I want to give credit to Raven Knight because he was the guy that painted this. It's definitely festive. And we got a large reactor in the corner here. You can see the spotlights facing down on it, and I'll show you why in a little bit later. Our little medical room for when we're respawning is behind me. Going out to one of the nacelles, you can see in here, this is how the interior of them worked, as well as the new auto repair system. Those welders just simply rotate while they're on, and they will automatically repair thrusters if they come in contact, if they need it. And it will hit just about everyone that's in the nacelle. That was by design. Going up to this staircase here, we head back towards the engine room, quote unquote. And you see we put two large reactors back here as well as some additional storage just because, hey, this is a stored ship. Going towards the back here, the plumbing is all connected so that everything is attached to each other. Going back up here, you can see there's a couple more small reactors. Those are basically auxiliaries in case of emergencies. We have some catwalks up here to support the large reactors, although they don't really, quote, need it. Coming back here, you can see that this is the exit to the side docking ports that we use to service some of the smaller ships. And again, just out the tail. And you can kind of see the bottom of the Nostromo there. Going down into another room that we have yet to be determined exactly what we're going to do with this yet, but I wanted the space here just on the off chance we added more players or needed more med bays, that kind of thing. And there's a few catwalks and like little sort of cubby crawl spaces that we put in as best we could. Up to the bridge is this long staircase, as you can see. You can look out over the nose of the ship and enjoy the view, for lack of a better term. And just kind of getting in here to see. I turned the lights back on so that I could show you why we had spotlights sitting over the reactors. And this was Ravenite's idea again. He come up with some cool ideas, but you can see he put some green spotlights under him with a little bit of a flicker in them, so that gives you the impression that the reactors are kind of humming with life, and I thought that just looked really wicked. So I had to make sure he got credit for that, because the first run through I had the lights off because I didn't need them on. He also did that with the one in the front as well, so as you'll see here later. This is an elevator shaft that goes back down from the bridge to the industrial section of the ship, so that, you know, we can just get there quickly in case there's an emergency, like, you know, hitting an asteroid. So that's the tour of the ship. That was our build, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. From this point on, we're going to be doing some other stuff, because next time I'm going to be getting into the mods. This is Scott Cook, signing off. See you later.